Who would have thought that an old chicken house like this would be the source of some of the finest mushrooms in some of the finest restaurants in the South? Brett Smith has been in the mushroom business for about 7 years.
We started out helping Mississippi Natural Products doing some research before they got started. And once they got started, we were the first grower, Smith Lake Farms, and we started growing in '05, right after Katrina.
Mississippi Natural Products is a farmers cooperative that was formed with the help of Alcorn State University to provide alternative crops to limited resource farmers in rural areas. Mushrooms, specifically shiitake mushrooms, have become the main product.
We sell to upscale restaurants, we sell to brokers, and we sell to a lot of grocery stores in Louisiana, and in Mississippi we sell to the McDade's groceries in Jackson. We chose shiitake because that's what Alcorn had done the research on for 7 or 8 years, so we knew we could successfully grow that. And it is considered a gourmet mushroom, and it was the most widely used gourmet mushroom in our distribution area.
For these gourmet mushrooms to be provided to restaurants, the co-op's first job is to create growing blocks that have been inoculated with shiitake mushroom mycelium. Before the blocks are injected, they must be sterilized in this chamber to kill all the bacteria that could be in the blocks, so that when the shiitake mushroom spawn is added to the block, it doesn't have to compete with any other living organism.
These are the substrate blocks sitting on the table. What they're pouring into the bags is what we call sawdust spawn, and that's bags of sawdust that just have spawn in them with no nutrients. He'll cut it open. When he pours it in, he has to be careful not to let that bag touch the other bags, or it could be contamination on them. See how he opens? He doesn't touch the tops of the bag. The girl in the middle, Denise, is actually taking the bag. She folds it over in front of the HEPA filter so it blows clean air in there. They need a little bit of air in the bag. She seals the bag with the bag sealer, and she passes it off to the shaker. The shaker on the end just mixes it up and distributes the sawdust spawn throughout the bag so that the mycelium will grow in all areas of the bag.
The inoculated blocks are then taken into an incubation room.
Once the blocks have been inoculated with spawn, the bag is sealed. We bring them into this room at 74 degrees, and we maintain them at 74 degrees for 10 weeks. During that time, the mycelium or the spawn goes throughout the sawdust, the loose sawdust, and compacts it into a hard block. That's what we call the substrate block. After 10 weeks, the blocks then go to the grower and are ready to be grown.
That's where Brett Smith and his converted chicken house come in.
As you see these here growing, we have them on their own 21-day cycles. We have 3 growing rooms here. When we bring them in and open up the bags to start the growing process, we shock them, turn the temperature down to 58 degrees for 2 days, and then turn it up to 64 degrees for 12 days. And that's in the growing process. That's when they start growing. Then the last 7 days, they're in the rest period where they build back up their energy.
By staggering the blocks into 3 different rooms, Smith always has some mushrooms that need to be harvested.
We go through every day when we harvest, and we check under the mushroom to see when they're supposed to be harvested. And it's actually right when the veil starts to break is the perfect time to pick them. This one here, the veil is just now starting to break. So that's the perfect time to pick. When we go through and pick them, that's what we have to look for. So we have to pick every one of them up to check them to see, because you can't tell with it sitting up. A few hours makes a difference. These were probably not ready this morning. 8 hours they can be completely open and ready.
When the harvested mushrooms come back to Mississippi Natural Products, it's McNerney's job to market them to restaurants.
We take samples to the chefs. It requires constant follow-up, calling the chef back, seeing if they liked them, how many they use, where they get them from, can we compete with the price. We've never had any chefs that say we don't like your quality, because our mushrooms have a really thick cap compared to what you see in the big retail chains that are a real thin cap of shiitakes. The Make My Mississippi program has really helped us. The Rouse's grocery stores in Louisiana, it took us about 2 years to get into that chain, but once we did, we're in there, and they want Mississippi shiitake mushrooms because they're famous for buying local. So the slow food movement, the buy local movement, any areas that's prominent in, like Memphis, New Orleans, it really helps us market our mushrooms because Memphis and New Orleans both consider us to be local.
This is the only processing plant in the Southeast, and they actually ship shiitake blocks all over the country.
We have a grower in California that orders blocks from us. We have a grower in New York that orders blocks from us. And then we have a lot in Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee that'll order blocks.
So the next time you order mushrooms at a restaurant, remember that it could have started at a small operation in southeast Mississippi.